Welcome home, where we provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator here on America's Next. I have Tyler Hart here with me today. How you doing, Tyler?
Good morning, Cedric. I'm doing well, man. Thank you for having me.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. You look like you had a long night.
I did, man. Life takes hard work, man. But that's all right. I'm up. I'm up, and I'm back at it.
Absolutely. Life does take hard work. You know, today is a day where a lot of people are reflecting on life. And I want you to talk about when you became accustomed to hard work. At what point in your life did you say, this is an aspect of my adulthood and I can do this?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So for me, I want to say I distinctly remember that period of time in my life. I was actually incarcerated at the time, Folsom State Prison. You may have heard, Johnny Cash made it famous, but it wasn't all the hype, right? But no, I do remember that point in time when I was about 21, 22 years old. And for me, I looked at my surroundings and I had to take accountability. I understood how I put myself in that position. And with that same understanding, I understood that I could take actions to correct my course and to be somebody better. So I would say it's about that point in my life where I began to just take absolute accountability. And then, in terms of the hard work, for me, once I started to make positive changes in my life, and I was empowered by the realization that I could affect positive change. So from that moment forward, it's just been running from the world I'm coming from and just working hard every day.
I think that's great. And when you frame it that way, it's easy for me to see that there's nowhere for you to go but up. One of the hurdles that we have to cross into adulthood is being able to deal with hard work. You know, as a teenager, as a young man, or a young woman, for a lot of us,
Right.
hard work is like something that we go the opposite way of.
Hmm.
Oh, this involves me getting dirty. This
Hmm.
involves me waking up early, finishing late. I'm going to avoid it. And it might be for some people, but it's not for me. And everybody has to get to the point where they're able to accept hard work and dig into it and use it as a character building activity in their life. You know, now, what was your childhood like? Where did you grow up at?
So I grew up in the city of Napa, the wine country, Napa Valley, world renowned for being a wine country,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I was born and raised here. Spent up until my teenage years, I spent those years here in Napa, and that's where I reside again currently.
Now, is Napa Valley on the West Coast? Where is it?
Yeah, sure. So it's in the northern San Francisco Bay Area. So we're like the ninth county in the San Francisco Bay Area. We don't often get acknowledged as part of the Bay Area, but we are in the northern Bay Area here in the state of California.
What's it like living there? I mean, do you drive past grape farms regularly? Is wine for sale everywhere? What's it like? What's the culture like as a result of the location?
So I would say the culture it's an interesting dynamic because in the city of Napa where I was born, I would say it's just like anywhere else. People oftentimes hear, "Oh, Napa Valley, you must be rich. Everybody must be rich," when in fact it's not the case. So the culture is much like you'll find in any other place where you have the upper echelon, high society type folks, and then you have the folks who are just working to keep the machine running for those folks. So it was an interesting dynamic, growing up watching people with money, but not necessarily coming from a family with money.
Mhm. Areas like that always remind me of the duck going across the pond, where everybody is enamored by the product of the area. You know, high quality wine or high quality X. You can drop whatever you want there,
Mm.
but we don't always realize the undercurrent of hard work. Sometimes extremely hard work that goes into producing that finished product. And so it's deeper than just the final product. So it's refreshing to hear you bringing light to the undercurrent that existed in Napa Valley.
Absolutely, yeah.
So with that being said, talk to us about what life was like for you at 5 years old.
So you asked, Cedric, I'm gonna take it there.
Let's go.
And I'm gonna preface this by letting you know, the way stories end is not always how they begin. So I come from humble beginnings, challenging beginnings. I was born a single child, my mom's only child, my father's last child, but was raised as a single child. And to be perfectly honest with you, Cedric, I was born into a world, generational trauma, substance abuse issues, and stuff like that. So I was really exposed at an earlier age, at the age of 5, to a lot of things that come with that type of lifestyle. Parents, mom in and out of rehab, pops should have been in rehab. So just trying to navigate that as a young person. I mean, at 5 years old, not really knowing what's going on, but gradually, and being able to reflect and understand what was going on. But it was
So
challenging.
if your mother's in and out of rehab and your father should have been in rehab, it sounds like you had drug paraphernalia all around you. That's how I'm envisioning it. Is that correct?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And so who was watching you?
Um, I would say probably my father. So there's, my dad, he's 18 years older than my mom. And I'm my mom's only child, my father's fourth and last child. I want to say that, my mom she was in her addiction. She was living her life. So she just left me with my father mostly, as a young man, probably a place that wasn't really great for me at the time. But yeah.
But you said that your father had issues as well.
Absolutely. Yep. So it was kind of like the lesser of two evils, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Mom's left me with pops, and pops did the best he could, type of thing. But dealing with his own challenges too.
Did you find yourself taking care of yourself at a young age?
Absolutely.
Give me one of those stories where you were taking care of yourself at a young age.
For me, so school was something that always came naturally to me, but was nothing that was reinforced in the household. Essentially, like, to give you an idea, like, for me as a teenager, school was optional in my household. There was no strict reinforcement. My parents and I used to party together, if you will. An example would be like 16 years old at my fifth high school. Finally, I get myself up in the morning to go, trying to wake mom up in bed. Mom doesn't want to wake up, so she'll toss me the keys to her car. I'm 15 years old, no license. Mom's just like, here, take the car, bro. Type of stuff like that. Whatever she could, just to placate me and just so she could focus on what she was doing, type of thing. We have
You say,
situations like that.
did you say that you went to 5 different high schools?
That's right.
How did you keep up with the schoolwork? How did you keep up with the challenges of being in school when you're constantly going from one school to the next?
So I went to 5 different high schools because it was my fault. So like I was as a younger boy. I was naturally gifted in the area of academia. So like I said, but so it was something that came naturally to me. And I learned at an early age that I could easily satisfy the requirements of the school, which left me plenty of time to get into mischief. So as I found myself, getting deeper and deeper into things like, getting in the streets and drugs and crime and stuff like that, I get kicked out of school. So yeah, no, so I bounced around a bit, but that was my doing. The the coursework wasn't necessarily challenging for me. The challenge was occupying my time productively, surrounding myself with positive influences. And by the time you get kicked out of every school, you find yourself in the schools like, continuation schools, probation schools. So
Mm-hmm.
myself and my classmates essentially, like, were released from juvenile hall um, to attend school. If they couldn't behave, and you get sent right back to juvenile hall. So I liken it to the old movie by called Dangerous Minds. You probably recall, with Michelle Pfeiffer.
Right.
So yeah, it's interesting like that.
Right. Now, when you say that you were smart, but that gave you time for mischief,
Hmm.
it clues me in on the reality that just because you smart doesn't mean you don't need guidance. And so, what's your take on that? Did you look for guidance, or were you one of those kids who were like, I'm going to grow up without guidance because I don't have it at home, so I'm not going to look for it anywhere else?
Yeah, man. Yeah. No, guidance was nothing that I really sought. I think unconsciously I found it in, older men who were doing stuff that I thought was cool at the time. Mostly crime, selling drugs, running the streets and stuff like that. So consequently, I found myself unknowingly coming to idolize these older men and the lifestyle that I believe that they were living.
Right.
So no, I should have had a mentor. I should have had some more guidance.
Right. I think that we're uncovering something important, which is that people need guidance, and you don't stop needing guidance just because you're over 21 years old, or you're an adult now. I think we need guidance all the way through. And if you don't have somebody providing it for you, or you're not looking for it, it's still going to be a big part of your life because somebody's going to put it on you,
Mhm.
and you're going to
Absolutely.
accept it because you don't even know that you need it. You don't even know that you need
Absolutely.
guidance. But the influence out there who wants to take advantage of your youth or your tenacity is going to give you some guidance. Just so happen that guidance might not be for legal purposes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Maybe, at the time, something I thought that was good, good to me, but wasn't good for me.
Absolutely. So when did you start? When did you start actually, getting into things that were not good? I mean, let's talk about
Right.
petty
Absolutely.
crime. When was your first time doing the wrong thing where you're walking away knowing, listen, I just bent the fork in the road.
For sure. So, man, I remember breaking as far back as I can remember, but the first time I got picked up by the police, I think I was about fifth or sixth grade. It's funny because God bless the Boys and Girls Club. I know they do a lot of good work for a lot of folks in my city. It seemed like at the time the Boys and Girls Club was a place where parents would take their kids, and it wasn't really a good place. So like a lot of the mischief I found myself in was it was at the Boys and Girls Club. But I remember it was like fifth grade, and I had left the Boys and Girls Club to just go do shopping and stuff, to do some shoplifting and stuff like that. But that's how it started. I was about the fifth grade or so. Like I said, when I recall first being detained by the police.
Mhm. Did you ever get caught by a good-hearted adult, somebody who saw you doing the wrong thing and just wanted to pull you to the side and have a conversation?
Never.
Wow.
And you know what, Cedric, that could be a lie, man. Let me. Not that I can recall.
Okay. Okay. And the reason I asked that is because it happened to me. I remember one time when I was younger, I took a candy bar and I stuck it in my pocket,
Mm.
and no one saw me except for this older woman who was behind me, and she pulled me to the side and had a conversation with me about just the integrity that one needs to have. And she didn't know that I was actually hungry, and that I was being neglected, and that I was trying to feed myself with no money. But
Mm.
I still remember being pulled to the side like that. you
Yeah,
know
yeah, no, absolutely.
yeah. So you said, I'm tasting a little bit of this blood out here, and I want more of it.
Yeah, you know what, Cedric? So actually, to take it, I want to say, so you brought something to mind. Really, I recall, in terms of you said having a fence for yourself. So I do recall. I want to say it was like I remember I had a paper route, the first job I ever had, and it was time to go back to school, and I wanted back to school clothes. And as a kid, seldom do you get all the back to school clothes that you want, even less so for me growing up. So I remember one month I was collecting a paper route, and it was about the time we were getting ready to go back to school, and I didn't have any clothes. So I remember I stole I just kept I quit I left my job at the newspaper that day because I took the money and went school shopping for myself. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. And still, you're being given a lot of responsibility for a young person, and you're figuring out how to take more responsibility, but it's just not what people would think. Now, did you have what people will call a higher counsel out there on the streets who are encouraging you along in this lifestyle that you were getting into?
So it wasn't until like I was already, um, it wasn't until like I was already in the thick of things that I did encounter like I formed a relationship with the an older man, who was, more advanced in the criminal lifestyle than I was. And definitely, I was young and impressionable, and certainly I make all of my own decisions, and as I did at that time. But with him being the biggest influence in my life, he definitely encouraged me down the wrong path.
Mhm.
He was the one in the pulling up in the Denali on the 20-inch rims
Right.
and everything, trying to follow his lead.
Right. Can you take a few seconds and encourage young people who might be out there getting involved in the wrong things, taking the wrong influence, and taking their life in that particular direction? Can you talk to them for a little bit? Give them some of the tips that you wish you had.
Man, that's good. That's a really good question. I would just say, man, it's such a difficult thing to navigate as a young person. You don't really you're not conscious of an identity, your sense of self necessarily at that age. I would just say pay attention to your heart and do what you believe to be right. And all that stuff is really just not worth it. At the end of the day, it's not going to fulfill you. It won't result in I mean, for a select few, I suppose, who may be a bit atypical. But, aside from that, it's just not worth it. Nothing but pain comes from it. You got to love yourself first, and, stand on who you believe yourself to be. Obviously, like I said, it's hard to have the understanding of self at such a young age. But I would just say, just do what's right. You just gotta at some point, you just have to do what's right. You never have to talk yourself into doing the right thing, right? It's always a conversation you're having with yourself. Like, oh, should I do this? Should I not do this? Just pay attention to that, and also understand too that the people in your life at that age, they're not going to be in your life forever. And realistically, the people that are in your immediate vicinity, if they're not good for you, they don't matter anyway. So
Right.
peer influences are real big at that age. I would say, if they're not good for you, you need to be able to identify that, and really, who cares what they think? Because at the end of the day, as we take this journey alone for in the large part.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do we have, when I say we, I'm talking about people in general, especially the generations of us who are growing up. Do we have a thing for obstacles? Like, do we like the hard knocks? Do we like the challenges? Do we like kind of going out into the streets and just figuring out what challenges there are and trying to overcome them ourselves? Do we have a thing for that?
Yeah, man, but it's I don't know that it's a good thing. I think it's sense of independence can be a good thing. But yeah, no, oftentimes I feel like where we make things harder on ourselves, definitely, and then so often you get into a place where you accept your surroundings as your reality, and at that age you don't understand that you can affect that change.
Mhm.
So it's just become something, everybody's sitting around bragging and who's had it harder and who's doing the most
Right,
stuff.
right. What I also think is this: when you're growing up, your mind is such a robust machine. Your mind is growing. It's like a growing computer. As a matter of fact, it's better than a growing computer because you have a personality in there, but it is growing and it's creating new circuits, and you're myelinating around new ideas, and your mind needs a workout. So what I'm getting at is I'm noticing a pattern. The pattern is that we need a mental workout. And I'm not talking about school, right? School should always be a respected establishment that's doing a positive thing for your personal infrastructure. But
Hmm.
I'm also talking about just a whole nother set of stuff that your mind wants to get into. And I'm thinking, do we need an obstacle course? Do we need to create an obstacle course for people to get out there and to work their mind out and not have to worry about getting in trouble, not have to worry about, doing something illegal? Do we need an obstacle course? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Not really. I mean, you mean an actual physical structure of an obstacle course, or I mean, what do
Yeah,
you mean?
yeah. So this is the way I think, right? I know this is kind of an abstract idea, but you ever heard of a place called Discovery Zone?
No.
You ever? Oh yeah, you from out west. You ever heard of Sky Zone?
Mm-mm.
Okay, there are indoor amusement parks where people can go and have a good time. You got tunnels, you got ball pits, you got rock climbing walls, you got bungee jumping, you got zip lining. All these things amount to an obstacle course, and people have a great time there. They have a good time. They meet new people. It's fun. Rarely do you see somebody getting into mischief at an indoor amusement park,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
And so what I'm suggesting today, in part to the inspiration I'm receiving from you, is do we need an obstacle course on life? Like it's not all ball pits and slides, but it's a place where you can go to get the type of mental workout that people tend to seek. You see what I'm saying? So I'm into creating new things. I'm into to imagining solutions for the problems that we face. And I don't think it's a problem that we want to go out into the world and bang our head in order to learn life lessons. I think that we need to create a place where you can go and do just that. What do you think about that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the more extracurricular activities, you get the young people involved in, the better. I think they need to incorporate something like that into the curriculum, of the schools that our young people are attending, our kids are attending. That's one thing they teach you about history, their version. They teach you about math, reading, writing, and arithmetic. But there's I don't recall a course on personal happiness or anything that would foster the type of growth that you're talking about in terms of the obstacle course.
Did you actually graduate from high school?
Brother, I graduated from high school. Yeah, I did. The fifth high school I went to, I graduated, and I'll forever be grateful for my grandmother and the teacher at the time, who literally they sat me down, sat down at the table with me and had to persuade me to return to school because yeah, they had to persuade me to go back to go back to school. But I was super grateful that they did, because I did graduate, and it took me a couple years later to realize the importance of that high school diploma. But when I did, I was super grateful.
Right. What did you realize about the value of the high school diploma after you got it? What did you realize?
Well, when it first dawned on me, Cedric, to be honest, I was in the state prison, and there, I was just in disbelief about how many men just did not have a GED or a high school diploma. And then over time I came to understand that the folks that are in prisons, are like kind of are like it's like a represent like a just a segment of society. Like there's a bunch of people in there that kind of like represents everybody. And I was just I was just in disbelief about how many men just didn't have that.
Right. Congratulations to you for going out and achieving that, you know, and for seeing that you needed to put some effort into coming onto that stage of high school graduation, man. That's
Thank
big,
you. Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, yeah, that's important.
without a doubt. Now, while you were going in and out of the prison system, what was happening with your parents?
So, praise God, Cedric, I didn't go in and out, man. I just went in, came out, haven't been back.
Wow,
Uh, yeah. So yeah, but I learned my lesson. I was in state prison from the age of 19 to the age of 29. So
wow,
first time offender, I got 12 years, did 10 on 12. So yeah, I say that to say I was just in and out. But my parents were just lost in their addiction. You know, moms went to rehab, I think, a couple more times. My dad and I lost touch for several years until his addiction almost killed him, and he was in hospice. And you know, by the grace of God, he pulled through and sober now, about 6 years or so. But they were just lost in their addiction, and you know, I was just navigating that world alone. You know, but which was something that I was accustomed to at that point in my life.
Right. Were you ever able to go back and help your parents out in any way?
Oh yeah, 100%, man, 100%. So I'm super, yeah. So about halfway, well, you know, at some point during my stay in prison, mom's ended up getting clean too. And then, you know, we rekindled our relationship. She actually moved to the city I was incarcerated in and was visiting every weekend. My mom was super instrumental in my success and helping me to advocate for myself in prison because, you know, they don't, you know, most folks don't have support on the outside. So, you know, the penal system, they just do whatever they want to. You put you under the prison, outside the prison, tie you up, do whatever they want, beat you down. But I had my mom, and she was super supportive, super supportive. You know, so I was super grateful that, you know, she came around and we were able to establish that connection, you know, regardless of where I was.
Absolutely. Let's definitely show some respect to your mother and how she was able to turn her life around. You know, absolutely. We spend time talking about the negative impacts of some people's behaviors, but we should also turn around and spend some time celebrating the victories. When they're able to turn their life around, that's major.
Yeah, no, and that's something that I want to say too. But both of my parents, we have much different relationships now, and they're much different people. So yeah, you know, and at the end of the day, I forgive them. You know, I understand that they were just. I have children of my own. I understand it's a challenge. You know, we're constantly trying to raise ourselves. You know, as we take this journey in life, I don't hold anything against them. You know, they've been. You know, my father now is literally my, you know, my best friend. He and my wife and my dad is my best friend. We have the most incredible relationship. And I love him. I love him to death. So, and I don't hold anything against him, you know, I
Absolutely.
because I have the benefit of understanding though.
You know, let's take a moment of silence in solidarity with your parents, Tyler, letting them know that we appreciate their turnaround and we value the relationship that they're building with you today. They're doing something that not all parents get the chance or the decision to do. We'll be right back after this brief message. America's Next Motivator. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator, hosted by me, Cedric Riley, and sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network. And we're back. Tyler, how are you feeling out there?
And I'm doing great, man. Doing great. Happy Thanksgiving.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, you talked about how important it was and how much it meant for your parents to contribute to your life while you were incarcerated. Can you talk a little bit about that? I think that a lot of us out there, we have family members or people that we know who are incarcerated. And sometimes it's like out of sight, out of mind. But what you're saying today is that it made a huge difference for your family to continue to be in your life.
Yeah. So absolutely out of sight, out of mind. It's easy to feel abandoned in there. At the end of the day, folks make their decisions. I made my decisions, right? So it was my fault that I was there. But the family support is everything. Family support is everything. I was, blessed immeasurably by my parents, my wife. I had, honestly, I just couldn't say enough about it. But in terms of being able to, if you don't have that outside family support when you are doing that time, it makes things even harder for you. And like I said, and I'm not overstating or exaggerating. If you don't have that outside family support, the cops, the prison people, they're going to do what they want with you. And a lot of times that's not the right thing. I was, more than one time, unfortunately, I was befell criminal misconduct at the hands of correctional personnel. Fortunately, I knew how to advocate for myself. I familiarized myself with the law. So I was able to fight that battle and win. But without my people on the outside pushing my legal work for me and stuff like that, really at the end of that was super impactful. But more than anything, just visiting, letters, visits, phone calls, I got to say, that's the most important stuff. Knowing that you're loved, knowing that you have something to come home to, people that love you, people that care enough about you to put, a couple of dollars on the phone to come and see you. Really, that's it. I mean, that's everything.
Wow. A lot of people in a prison system or in a jail system, however you want to term it, they might feel like they have a hole in their canoe. But when you reach out to them, send a phone call, email, a few dollars, but just keep in touch. In a certain way, you kind of help to patch their canoe up in a sense, and then enable them to make it through their time. I think it's very big that you're reminding us to stay connected with our loved ones in jail today, because who knew that you're going to be really mistreated just because people know no one's looking for you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the reality, man. And a large part of the the changes that I like to see in terms of criminal justice reform and increasing minimum requirements for folks to become correctional personnel, increased training, increased oversight from the public and other oversight committees and stuff like that, inspector general and whatnot. They need to shine a light on what's going on in there. And, a lot of times we face like rules. So for an example, like rules violation reports, if you get written up for violating the rules, right? They can, you're not afforded any due process either as a prisoner. So, you go to your disciplinary hearing for whatever the case, and they take time from you, right? It's real hard to get out of prison because it's really, really easy to catch more time. And the thing about that is you're not afforded any representation or any due process. The correctional personnel are the judge, jury, and the executioner. Folks say it's not a big deal. You can go to a disciplinary hearing in prison and lose 90 days. I say lose 90 days, get an additional 90 days on your sentence, and nobody bats an eye on it. When realistically speaking, out here, even the poor folks are afforded representation. And 90 days in jail is a big deal to people out here. In jail, no one knows. It's hard to come home, to be honest, especially for folks doing life sentences. I swear I've never seen a more challenging process than for lifer inmates to be found suitable for release. And I promise you, and I'm not saying they're all perfect, but what it takes to navigate prison and, be ultimately, demonstrate rehabilitation and be found suitable for release is an incredible feat in itself.
You're raising awareness about life for people who are incarcerated. And I find a lot of value in that, because I realized the need to do more research into certain systems here in America. I just can't assume that I understand what life is like for people incarcerated and just say that they deserve everything that they're getting without me doing any research into understanding that life. Excuse me. That's a system that we need to understand more about. Same thing with the foster care system, right? Same thing with the political system. Same thing with the medical system. Same thing with, our community systems. And so I realized the need for us to invest some of our time to understanding the systems that play a part in the whole ecosystem that is the world we live in today. So I appreciate you shedding some light on the reality that it's easy to get into jail, but it's tough to get out. And again, I think that's the reason why guidance is key. It's not all about your free will and how you can do what you want in your life. It's about the greater reality that if you're not going in the right direction, you're going to end up in a place like jail or penitentiary where it's going to be hard for you to get your freedom back. And you're going to be guided in the prison system. So you're going to get guidance one way or another. But now, once you got out of there, what did you do next?
Yeah, you touched on something, if you don't mind me just jumping on something, Cedric, we talked about, jumping back to what you said about guidance and mentors. It wasn't until I was in the prison system that I began to consciously select, folks that I could admire, folks that I could learn from. And I just want to touch on this because it's something really close to my heart. But some of the best people I ever met, some of the best upstanding men I've ever met, are doing life in prison and they'll never come home. And, I get emotional when I think about it because too often as a society as a whole, these folks are just stigmatized and, how foolish we are as a people because we're so quick to point the finger at somebody else while ignoring our own shortcomings or, passing judgment on others is always such a dangerous thing to do because I've seen good people do bad things. I've seen bad people do good things. And some of the best men I ever met and some of the best hearts are people that will never come home. So I just want to say that, you can't discard anybody. You can't discard anybody. There are good people everywhere and you never know when you're going to meet them on the bus, from in prison. You never know, so I just want to throw that out there.
I appreciate that. And I want to go along with that. We must value the resurrection of a man or a woman. We must value somebody who is being accountable for their actions, who is living a life of humility, who is taking it one day at a time and being a noble person and living a life of righteousness, especially after they used to do the wrong thing and live a life of unrighteousness. There are almost no more valuable people among us than those who have decided to turn things around and live a noble life like that. So I think that's phenomenal. Now let's move forward. You obviously decided to do something new with your life when you got out of prison. What did that look like?
Yeah, so actually, I decided to do something new with my life while I was in prison, right? Actually, while I was in prison, I took advantage of every rehabilitative opportunity that was afforded to me. Fortunately, I was in a prison where there were college courses available. Back to the earlier question, because I did have my high school diploma that allowed me to enroll in college classes without any problems. I ended up earning 3 degrees at the associate level while incarcerated. One in business, one in social behavioral science, one in arts and humanities, with a bunch of other stuff also. So that helped to really, that's how my transformation began. I really just understood like, hey man, this is who I've been. This is not who I want to be. What can I do to change? I know I'm better than this. I know I'm better than this. I don't care what these people say. I don't care. I don't care. They call me, G47226. I don't care. I'm not going to put your standards on me. I'm not going to judge my self-worth based on your acceptance or what my past may say about me. And I really just took advantage of everything that was afforded to me. So that's where the transformation began. And ultimately, like I was able to, the life that I'm living now, I really began in prison. I was able to be impactful in men's lives while I was on the inside. So yeah, man, like I said, so I found myself in a bunch of interesting positions. Probably you wouldn't really expect of a prisoner. Yeah, so I would say my journey, beginning to help folks started in prison. I got a job at the college, right? The college at the prison. I was a guide, like a guidance counselor, admissions counselor, if you will, tutor, teacher's assistant. I ended up I actually didn't find myself, but I pushed really hard after I experienced some of the criminal misconduct at the hands of law enforcement. Like I said, I took a sincere interest in the law, and I I educated myself and I understood, well, wait, hold on, wait a minute. These rules that I'm bound by, you too are bound by. So for that reason, I ended up pushing real hard, and I became a part of what they call the inmate advisory committee. Or so what that was, I was the liaison essentially, um, for the inmate population, and I advocated for our rights, pushed real hard legal work for to protect the constitutional rights of prisoners on the inside. So that was really big. And then actually one of the things I taught myself in prison was how to speak Spanish also. So that allowed me to help, a lot of the undocumented folks from Latin America and stuff push their legal work, because they're getting run over even harder in there. They don't even speak the language.
Mhm.
So that was when I really started to like really, really want to make a difference. But then ultimately, yeah, I just transitioned that when I came home. I was a new person when I came home. I hit the ground running immediately. While I was incarcerated, I met my wife. Bless her heart, she did the last 6 years of my term with me. We had 2 children while I was incarcerated. So that was some of the biggest transformational stuff for me. I was blessed in a place where blessings are very scarce. So I was just incredibly blessed, highly favored. Feel like I continue to be so. So I just carried that momentum when I came home. I hit the ground running. Um, Man, transferred to the university, completed my undergraduate degree in sociology, began my graduate studies in business this year. I've been working in nonprofits in the community. First name basis with the chief of police, the sheriff, the chief of probation. But in a good way, they call me when we have young people we work with and stuff like that. So yeah, man, just really hit the ground running, trying to just uh, be a better person, man, and make a difference.
I think it's great how the same world that you used to see looks totally different now. And you go out into this same world and you do new things. And you're a new person in terms of what you decide to do with your 24 hours a day. I
Yep.
I think that's great. What would you say was the single most rewarding experience that you've had since you've been out here?
Man, you know what, Cedric? I can't even tell you, man. I can't, I know that's probably not the answer you want to hear, but it's really hard for me to nail it down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just so incredibly grateful and feel so incredibly blessed. That I'm really grateful for every little thing. I'm super mindful that I could have easily not been here, and a lot of people aren't. So yeah, man, it's just even the little things. My wife and I, she used to come spend the weekends with me. I'm in prison, and we would stand there in the front yard of the family visiting unit, and we was, behind the razor wire and stare at the stars.
Wow.
And now we get to do that out here on the outside, man. So
Right.
it's just beautiful, man. It's beautiful.
Just freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom is such a beautiful thing. And
Really.
I don't know that we always appreciate freedom the way that we should. You know?
Yeah.
I also think that the era that we're in right now is teaching everybody a lesson about freedom. You know, do you value the ability to walk in and out the house freely when there's a curfew? Yeah, you do. You know,
Yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. Folks are sheltered in place and everything else. Yeah.
and for once in your life, you're thinking, when I leave this house, I'm gonna do what I need to do. I'm gonna do what's important, what's essential, and then I'm gonna come back home. And it's like that's been the objective the whole entire time. You know,
Right.
you don't leave the house with no purpose. I'm sure you leave the house every single day with a purpose and an objective.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Are you reading any books that you'd like to talk about today?
Oh man, Cedric, all I do is read, man. That's
Really?
another thing that I would tell you. Talk about telling young people. I would tell them, get in those books, man. If you don't like what you see around you, man, there is, I mean, I love books. I could go on and on. I would say that was probably the number one thing that changed my life, in addition to, education. But reading is a large part of that. Learning is a large part of that. So for me, reading is everything. Reading, learning, and now see, now that we have technology, we have books on tape and YouTube videos, and so that's what it's all about. But In terms of anything that I'm reading right now, I just took a break from, like I said, my graduate studies for the term. So obviously I'm reading stuff in school, but in terms of any personal books that I'm reading right now, I want to say one that comes to mind immediately is called The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt. It's like he's a positive psychologist, so that's a really great book. But one book, there's a handful of books that I always recommend to folks, and I'm going to say that Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within. I found that book in prison. And that was one of the most incredibly impactful books, and it allowed me to change, a lot of stuff, man. It was The Happiness Hypothesis. Anthony Robbins was incredible, man.
Wow. Anthony Robbins is Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So you read books. Do you feel like social media, YouTube, and audiobooks take the place of actually holding a book and flipping the pages?
I mean, are they taking the place? Yes. Are they as effective? I don't know. I would say that, the ease with which we can access this type of information and increase our knowledge in whatever area we want, I think is incredible. And I think that in that aspect, that those forms of learning have replaced traditional, books. I think that's a great thing. But I will say too that for me, there's something just about reading, and it's like an exercise for the mind. Seeing the words, new words, learning new things. Um, so whenever I do have a chance to sit down and actually read a book, that's always preferred as opposed to other ways.
You ever thought about putting your story in a book?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I like to feel like I've been writing a book for a couple of years. And one thing that I just want to say, Cedric, since you're allowing me to have the floor, I'll try to keep it brief, but just to access the information, something I really want to underscore to the young people these days. The phones that we have in our hands, you have no idea what these are capable of. Really, you have no excuse. Everything you want to know, need to know, it can be found right there. And just to take it back to when I was incarcerated, literally, I just want to tell you this: you can get your hands on books. You couldn't even get your hands on books. I was in places in high security places, 23, 24-hour lockdown, where literally it was a fight just to get a book. The rules say you can only have 2 books in your cell at a time. The cops don't even want to get you another book. And really, reading material is so scarce, Cedric, that I kid you not, there was a period of time for 2 weeks that I had nothing to read but months old USA Today's. I'm reading the sports page I already knew what happened. I saw the game, right? Or, I knew what happened, right? But I'm reading old stuff just because it's so difficult to access that type of material. So I really can't say that enough. Like we're blessed out here,
Right. There's a scarcity of books, and I thought that there would just be racks and racks and racks of books available.
So let me set that up a little bit different. In the unit that I was at the time, right, maximum security, there's a shortage of everything. There's no blankets, there's no toothbrushes, like what I'm saying. There's no towels, there's no bath towels. So yeah, no, there's no books. And then the thing is, what the cops are not they're not all that helpful. So they don't want to help you get a book. So yes, there are books, but in the institution that I was at the time, heck no, you couldn't get your hands on anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
The importance of a good book, a good read, new information, fresh sources of information must be like a glass of water, or a breath of fresh air.
Absolutely.
I think that's a really good point that you're making, is that, we appreciate water, we appreciate air, but we got to remember that good media is also like a glass of fresh water for your mind, for your body, for your soul.
Yeah, good media is everything. So this is what I say, like I try to control the input, right? So we're exposed to so many different stimuli, media, in other words, and we can't really control so many times what's going in. So when you are intentional about what you are listening to, what you are inputting, whether it's what you're listening to, watching, reading, the people you're around, like you said, it's like a water, like your diet. When you can control the input, right? It's a win. You have to control the input realistically, or you're going to be, swayed, here and there, by social media and everything else.
Right. What's next for you?
Man. Well, only God knows that, Cedric. I have some things in mind. So like I said, working on my graduate studies right now in business. I work at a nonprofit here locally in the community, case managing, young people as a mentor for young people. So just helping them navigate what I had to navigate, when I was their age. So I like to continue to do that for a while. I was looking at law school for a little while. Um, Understanding the uphill battle that I would have as a formerly incarcerated individual. That's something I still may do, so I can continue to fight in a real way. But my wife and I are expecting our third son right now, so we're just, yeah, we're laying low and looking forward to this new baby coming, and yeah, man, just taking it one day at a time.
Nice. Talk about how your life is totally turned around now. You're giving back in the lives of children. That's powerful right there. You know, you're having children of your own. You're a family man now. Things are totally different for you. How does it feel to be on the other side, of life? Now you're being a positive role model in the lives of kids. Talk about that
Yeah.
experience.
All of my dreams are coming true, Cedric. All of
Wow.
my dreams are coming true. I'm living my dreams every day. And the funny thing is, everything that I wrote down, almost everything that I wrote down while I was incarcerated, almost everything. Like I wanted to open a youth center. We did that. We expanded our program in Voices Youth Center. Shout out on the Move Bay area, my organization. We
Hold up. Hold up. You started an organization?
Nah, so I work. I said no. I'm sorry. No, actually, that's a different company. No, my organization that I work for on the Move
Okay.
Bay area. Yeah, no, I did start my own business when I first came home, and I was actually called Prison Pathway Consultants, helping to harness my experience and help folks navigate the prison system. So I was a private consultant for the organization that I'm now employed full time.
Okay.
That's how I got the job. But I just want to say, all of my dreams are coming true. One thing I just want to throw this out there: it's important to continue setting new goals that motivate you. It's important. You got to keep setting higher goals, higher than you thought possible, goals that motivate you, that inspire you. And you know what? Just be patient, be humble, and keep your eyes open, because you might be living your dream, you don't realize it. I'm living my dream every day, and it's but it's hard. It's easy to lose sight of that, because life's tough for everybody. I don't care who you are. But yeah, man, just keep setting new goals, keep reaching for your dreams, and anything is possible. So hey, man, I don't even know. I don't even know. I like I said, almost all of my dreams have come true. I'm in the process of setting higher goals for myself, man.
Right. Hey,
Yeah,
I think you're a great example, just a great example that while you might have adversities in life, big challenges, you might make some wrong decisions, but your life could turn around and all your dreams could come true.
yeah,
There's a lot of people incarcerated right now. There's a lot of people whose life isn't easy, but this moment too shall pass, and
absolutely,
all of your dreams can still come true. That's my number one takeaway from the show today, is that all of your dreams can still come true. All of your dreams can
absolutely.
still come true.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Nothing that we're experiencing is permanent. Everything is temporary, whether it's good or bad. You got to be mindful, man. If it's bad right now, it won't be bad forever. And the same is true if it's good. So, every day is a new day, man. We got to just keep looking forward to the future. Stay positive, stay humble, work hard, work really, really hard. Hard work makes life easy. I was once told that lazy people work twice as hard, and I think that that's true, man. So just do it right the first time, man. You could be who you want to be at any moment. At any moment, you could be who you could reinvent yourself at any moment, whatever way you want.
All right, we're rounding third base here. What is survival to you?
Survival.
Yes.
uh, Survival. Survival is just doing what you got to do to make it through to stay alive. I mean, that's how I would define survival.
Mhm. What is success to you?
Success is when you go beyond survival and you overcome first what you have, the challenges that you have in your own mind and your own heart. That's where it always starts. Once you overcome that, you will overcome those obstacles that surround you, adversity that surrounds you, and then that's where you find success.
What is greatness to you?
Greatness is when you make a decision that you're gonna you make the conscious effort to be a better person every day. You got to be the best you could be, and make sure that you're showing up as your best self for you and for the people around you, man. That's greatness. Want more good things, positive things, and working hard tirelessly to get it.
I wish the best to you and your future. I hope that things continue to become better and better and better. I think you'd be a good person to connect with a gentleman I also spoke with. His name is Scott Hampton. I think he's doing great work, and I think he'd be a great connection for you as well. I listened to your journey today, and I respect it, I appreciate it, and I admire it. You woke up this morning early, and you brought your story to our platform. I want to give you your crown today while you're still living. I want to give you your respect while you can still receive it. I want to let you know, Tyler Hart, and let the world know that you, Tyler Hart, you are America's next motivator.
Thank you, Cedric. I appreciate you for having me, man. Blessings to you and the family. Happy Thanksgiving.
Absolutely. Thanks for stopping by, all right?
All right, take care.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Each and every episode of America's Next Motivator is going to have something here for you. All you've got to do is stop by and pick it up.